Every Who down in Who Newville liked the holidays a ton, but where to get great prices on gifts, they had no idea. None. They searched and they searched for great gifts under $25. Gifts for spouses and friends and even their toddlers. When suddenly one Who shouted, Walmart has what you want, knowing they have Lego, Tree Hut, and no prices to flaunt. So they enjoy the holiday season as Who's often do. Cheering and shouting, Walmart has incredible gifts. Who knew? Find gifts they'll love under $25 at Walmart.
Running a business comes with a lot of what-ifs. But luckily, there's a simple answer to them. Shopify. It's the commerce platform behind millions of businesses, including Thrive Cosmetics and Momofuku, and it'll help you with everything you need. From website design and marketing to boosting sales and expanding operations, Shopify can get the job done and make your dream a reality. Turn those what-ifs into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.
There is no hood like parenthood. Hi, I'm Kanika Chadda Gupta. I'm a former CNN journalist, mom of 3, including twins, and host of That's Total Mom Sense, the podcast. Now, if I had $1 every time I heard, gee, you have your hands full. On my show, I interview change makers on their life lessons, legacy, and superpower of intuition, which I call our mom sense and dad sense. I've had the privilege of working with Mom 2.0, March of Dimes, and the White House, and I've had some pretty amazing parents on my show.
Hey, what's up? I'm Kelly Rowland.
Hi, this is Chelsea Clinton.
It's me, Bobby Brown. Can't wait to share my story.
That's Total Mom Sense is a production of the Evergreen Podcast Network. Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and on YouTube so you never miss an episode. To join my tribe, visit that'stotalmomsense.com and follow me on Instagram at Kanika Chadda Gupta. Now let's dive into today's episode. This episode was filmed live at Industrious in New York City at Rockefeller Center and was an unfiltered event with tech leader, journalist, investor, and mom, Upasna Gautam. We did a deep dive into what it means to own your personal brand, break barriers, build wealth, and bring value. Whether you're working in corporate or are a founder or have a persona on social media, it's so important to understand your mission and your message. And we tackle all of that in this live masterclass. Hi, everyone. This is Kanika from That's Total Mom Sense. And today I come to you from Industrious. And my fireside chat is live with a studio audience. Woo! Clap for yourselves. Woo! And we're going to keep it really engaging, enlightening, and entertaining. I am joined by Upasna Gautam, who is a tech leader at CNN, advisor, investor, mom, and chairwoman, and all-around badass. I am so excited to have you on the show.
Thank you, Kanika. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today in a very cold New York City morning, just like I like it.
Yes. That means we really, really want to be here. Okay, so the premise of this show is own your personal brand, and we're going to talk about various themes like build wealth, bring value, break barriers. But just to do a call out, what do you all think defines a personal brand for you? Say a word. Go ahead, Anna.
Personal as well as professional way of showing ourselves.
Awesome. Any other? You can just say
Values.
love it. Values.
Passion.
Superpower. Awesome. Authenticity. That's great. And aspirations. I think we all need to embody all of these things as we are forging ahead in our career paths and have to just have those words in mind. Okay, so let's start with breaking barriers, which is the last one. So Upasna, take us back to your childhood. Tell us about what a little young Upasna was like, and if you felt like you were just this born leader.
Little Upasna was painfully shy and would be having a nervous breakdown if she was here right now. But there's one quality from young Upasna that has been a constant in my whole life, which is curiosity. And I don't think I was born a leader, but I think that trait or quality of curiosity inevitably sets you up to be a leader, because You want to learn how systems, people, things are connected. You want to dig deeper past the surface level. I was that kid that was always asking why. And I think the other part of it is, challenging assumptions also stems from curiosity. And although I wasn't born a leader, I definitely have that innate curiosity in me, and that set me up to become a leader in a more impactful way.
That's great. And I mean, given your line of work, you're in media, you have to ask questions. It's the only way to get the facts.
Absolutely.
And okay, what were some of the values that your parents passed on to you?
In addition to nurturing that curiosity, for better or for worse, my parents, I'm the eldest of 3 sisters. I think that's an important POV. They were just a special breed, I think, especially when you're the eldest daughter of Indian immigrants, or any immigrants really. They fostered that curiosity, but also they relentlessly encouraged us to be independent. And in a sense of, be able to stand on your own 2 feet no matter what, never depend on anyone. Now this is also problematic, I learned later too, right? Hyper independence is not healthy either. But it did set me up to become a problem solver, have high agency, learn how to just figure shit out on my own. And so nurturing that curiosity, encouraging independence, I think those 2 things also have been, at different points in my life, for better or for worse, led me to where I am today.
That's awesome. And what about your passion for tech? Were you always tinkering with things and, putting it back together?
Pretty much, yes, but not when I was younger, not so much in a technical sense. It was more in a semantic sense of I questioned everything, challenging assumptions. I loved problem solving. I loved math. I loved reading. And I think, I always say this, I'm always going to be very blunt and honest about why I chose to move into tech. I went to school for biomedical sciences. When I graduated from college, I was a quality control research scientist at a pharmaceutical company. And I was like, I gotta get out of here. This is just awful.
But your parents must have been like, win, hashtag.
They were like, well, why don't you just go be a doctor? It's such a linear path from being a quality control research scientist.
Wow.
And I did not want to pursue further education. I wanted to do stuff, build things, be active in the workforce. And so my dad has been a network security engineer for 40 years. He's worked in really cool places. And tech to me was opportunity and money. Right now, I work in tech because the money is lit. That's why I work in tech. And it opens up opportunities for you, and it lets me nurture and foster my curiosity, my problem solving. It lets me use those qualities I have to solve real world problems. And you can imagine working at the world's biggest breaking news organization, there are a lot of problems that need to be solved. And so it's really amazing to combine the intersection of all those skills and see your work in the wild every day.
Wow. And can you just sum up what you do in your day job?
Yes, absolutely. So my official title in my 9 to 5 is I'm a senior platform product manager at CNN. The hell does that mean? Can you tell me? It's not that serious. Tech labels are always interesting. So platform, in the sense, what you guys see on your mobile app on the website, everything that's very consumer facing for CNN except TV, there's a technology platform that powers all of it. It's the tools, the workflows, the features that journalists, producers use every day to curate, program, publish content. And there's a lot that happens behind the scenes in order for them to do that and do it at the speed of breaking news. So my team built that platform, and we actually migrated and re-architected is that a word? It is, right, okay. Architected our legacy platform that CNN was using for over 25 years. It was super problematic, very much put together with bubblegum and duct tape, and redid it, and now it's very fast, flexible, modular. And now my current project is scaling that to TV because that sits on a whole different tech platform. So what you see on TV for CNN is using a different infrastructure, a different architecture. So we're currently scaling that to broadcast.
That's amazing. And I think, what's so interesting is as individuals, we often make these decisions to pivot, but even behemoth companies have to do that too. And just embrace all things new media and create new systems.
Absolutely.
So it's great. I want you to share something that you do that's rooted in service in Seva, and that's Internet Sati. And that's another way that you've chosen to break barriers.
Oh my gosh, this was like, I had to like go dig into like my past work life for this. Kanika is an amazing podcast host because she does her research. And I was like, oh, okay, sure, we can talk about that. Internet Sati is a program developed by Google where they give information and resources to women in rural India to equip them with the knowledge to help other women become digitally literate. And really what the goal is to have them be able to create small businesses and generate their own profit and contribute to their communities and their families, mostly through things like a cell phone and showing them how information is accessible at their fingertips, and also using things like voice search, because even if you're not literate, you can still access that information through different technology like voice search. So I helped build that original curriculum with a few partners from Google. The only time I mentioned it in a TED Talk I did about voice search in 2019. And it was just a really cool experience. I think that the takeaway from that is problem solving, which is also going to be like the theme of personal branding that we talk about today. I mean, there's so many ways that you can do it. And I think like a lot of times we think it needs to be something extravagant when there's so many problems we can solve right in front of us. This curriculum wasn't for Internet Sati, wasn't anything earth shattering. It wasn't anything like hyper complex. It was really simple. It showed them a workflow of how to retrieve information from their cell phone. That's it. And it changed so many of their lives. And the best part of it is that part of the program was they were to pay it forward to their communities and create more Satis or teachers so that it would be a domino effect, a compounding effect after that.
Amazing. I wanted to share how I discovered you because I feel like that's so rooted in personal brand, and it was on Instagram. The fact that you put yourself out there on portals like this, and we can all do this on Insta, on LinkedIn, on Substack, whether it's sharing your opinions or whatever business that you're promoting. It's so important to do that, and I love that you did that outside of your day job, and that's how many people know you. So let's start with the bringing value. How does one get started to create their personal brand from scratch?
So I think the step one is deeply understanding what your value proposition is. And when I think of value proposition, it is what is the impact that you can have by helping someone solve a real life problem. This is I product manage all of it. It's just do discovery on your audience. What does your audience need? Who is your audience? How do you converse in the language of the listener and your audience? What are the problems they're facing? Again, it doesn't need to be anything complex, but use your day-to-day life for inspiration. And it could be something as simple as, what's a challenge you faced in your workflow? What is something that really bugs you about your industry? What's a roadblock that you encountered and how did you navigate it? The thing about personal branding is also, to me, it's like, I didn't want to make my personal brand about my 9 to 5.
Yeah.
It is, and I don't think that is what a personal brand is. I think a personal brand is the intersection of your values, your skills, and your expertise. And with that, you can uncover all sorts of problems you can help people solve. I'm not saying don't leverage. If you have leverage in the places you work, you should absolutely use that leverage. But The goal of a personal brand is to create leverage for yourself and power for yourself and autonomy for yourself that is detached from any external entity. Because if you lose that job tomorrow, what do you have left? Nothing. But if you focus on you, your skills, your values, your expertise, no one can take that away from you. And so I think like, if you're starting out, that is a really good place to start, is like, what problems can you help people solve? What are the types of people you want to help? And again, using daily life for inspiration.
Yes, and you definitely know your people. You advocate for women, and you've actually said once, we don't need to be empowered. Let's stop with the empowering women. We already have power.
Absolutely. And I think like that's, when I hear slogans being regurgitated by the masses, I immediately go to question it. I'm like, what does this mean? Why is this the thing? Why is everybody saying it? Half of the time it's usually bullshit.
Yeah.
So
just sounds,
but it's like question it, right? And like understand, what does it really mean? And to me, and you are like you said, Kanika, you already have power. Saying I'm not here to empower anyone. You guys already have power. If other people need to empower you, that means you have given up your agency to someone else. That you have given up your potential to someone else. That someone else is gatekeeping your potential. No, that's not what this is. You already have power. How can you activate it? And there are, and that's what I think is helpful, is showing the path, showing the roadmap, showing tactical, actionable ways to get from point A to B. How do you take a big problem and break it down into small pieces? And empowerment is like, I think the best way to put it is, it's kind of like saying, if it's desperation, like I have nothing, help me. This room is filled with badass women. You don't need to be empowered. You already have power. And the fastest way to stay powerless is to seek empowerment.
Right. It's coming from a scarcity mindset.
That's a good one.
Yeah, and we shouldn't kind of approach our work or show up in the world that way, because we have just so much intelligence and resources and ability to figure it out that we don't need to come from that place. Yeah, I love that. And now let's get into the nitty-gritty. So one thing that you do for your audience is, let's say when you're making a reel, and oftentimes it's like that 5-second, and it's just caption with like some like bass music in the back, and you're just like, dun, 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 this is how you like land your first speaking gig, and this is what you should charge. It's phenomenal. I love how you are speaking like directly to that audience member who's following you, and it's like, oh my gosh, I needed that tidbit. I was paralyzed. I didn't know how to, like vie for this speaking opportunity and how to get it. So how do you break that down? And like, tell us like resources, like things that you use to cut this kind of thing and like actually put it out there and press submit.
Do you mean from like a content perspective?
Yeah. Because that's a way to really speak to your audience. And then even with LinkedIn posts, there's so many different ways, but I feel like Instagram is your jam. Like how do you do it for Insta?
It's crazy. I definitely have different personalities on Instagram and LinkedIn. I'm like super product technical on LinkedIn, and then Instagram is my place of talking to my younger and older self. So talking to your audience. When I really changed my POV on how I deliver information on Instagram, because I feel like what I do is I imagine I'm having a FaceTime call with a friend, or a FaceTime call with my younger self, or a FaceTime call with my daughter. And delivering information that helps people get shit done. Like I think being like an inspirational or motivational speaker or creator can only take you so far. I prefer that to be the byproduct of what I share. And I think of personal branding, you want to position yourself as the problem solver, the go-to person, the subject matter expert, the thought leader, whatever you want to call it, right? The person who knows how to get shit done. That's how you become a magnet for opportunities. Mm-hmm. And I think the biggest block that a lot of us have, myself included in the past and even now, is like, okay, where do I start? And especially in today's day and age where we are bombarded with information, the digital sphere is oversaturated. There's so many voices. There's so much noise. The best way to cut through the noise is to be actionable, is to help people solve a problem, and like lead by example, right? Use your personal stories to like affirm or validate that this path works for me. Try it. And I always say too, like, it's not that I think my way is right. I always hope that my audience challenges me too, because if everything I'm saying is right, then actually what I'm trying to teach you isn't working. Because what I'm trying to teach you is to learn how to critically think, how to question, how to challenge assumptions, how to not live in the status quo. And so I think like when you start to do that, by byproduct, you position yourself as a leader. People want to be around and resonate closely with people who can challenge societal norms, because a lot of times these are rules and norms set in stone by people that are completely unrelatable to us, and it doesn't fit. And I'm going to use this as an example. James Clear, Atomic Habits. Brilliant writer.
Yeah.
Lots of great tidbits. Millions and millions of copies of his book sold. Why isn't everyone happier? Why isn't everyone like achieving financial independence? Like,
because you listen to the audiobook while you're, well, I would do it while I'm like unloading the dishwasher, and then you could actually just not make any change in your life.
exactly. And
like, well, that was amazing in theory. Doing same shit, different day tomorrow.
Get out of the theoretical, and get into the actionable. That's how you become a magnet. That's how you become a leader. It's lead the way by showing the way.
Yeah.
And do it in a way that's relatable. And also, you know, and and this is, I think James Clear is brilliant, but like, it's not relatable for a lot of women. It's not relatable for someone who had 3 kids in 18 months to be like, go do this, habit stack. Like, what?
Right.
Shut up. That doesn't even make sense.
Happening.
Like, and it works in different,
but I still love self-help. I just like have it on in the background all day.
Actually,
don't do anything different.
I'm gonna actually thank you for saying that, because that's noise.
Yeah.
I really think that after a certain point, I'm not saying don't read or listen to that stuff, but read and listen to it and then ask yourself, what did I do after this?
Yeah.
Or did I just fill my brain with more noise? One thing I started doing recently is, this is like revolutionary, I go on walks with no music, no podcast, and just run on my walks. And like, it is, it works. It gives so much clarity and opens yourself up to creativity. But like, you have to figure out what works for you. Take inspiration from people, experiment, test, and see what the results are of that test. And if it doesn't work, let it go. And like, morning routines are another example, right? It's like, what works for you isn't going to work for me. It's not going to work for half the women in here. But like, who cares? You don't have to wake up at 5 a.m. and have a 7-step morning routine to be successful. Like, mine has completely changed in the last year and a half. But I think going back to like the personal branding element, what the key takeaway here is that figure out what hurdles you're encountering and challenges you're encountering in your life, and share it in an actionable, practical way. That's like step 1, step 2, step 3. Lay out a path for people. It could be as simple as, and I think we're going to talk about this in a minute, like the public speaking part and like how to get into that.
Let's actually segue into that now.
Okay, perfect. I think that's a good example.
Yeah, because the fact that I feel like because we're all empowered already, we stepped into this room with power. Now we want to share it with the world. So how do we do that? And I love how you do that through Reels and your content, because now you're galvanizing a group of women who are like, oh, I want to follow suit. I want to do that too.
Absolutely. During the pandemic, I was getting feedback from a lot of people when I first started creating content about like, how did you get into public speaking? Interestingly enough, the social media wasn't the way I started personal branding. It was actually through public speaking 12 years ago when social media wasn't even a thing. And one of my bosses, who to this day is a dear friend and mentor to me, encouraged me to build my brand through personal speaking. He was a great sponsor for me and encouraged me to like, get into certain places and advocated for me in those spaces. That was really how I started my personal branding, was off social media, in conferences and different events. And I realized that there was, at a time when I was doing more outbound at the beginning of my speaking journey, there was a formula for success that I saw. Every application, every call for speakers, every call for a pitch had these three similar pieces of criteria. And I was like, okay, I'm just gonna show people how to do this. And it was very practical. It's a title, a summary or an abstract, and key takeaways. I'll get into those in a little more detail, but just to focus on the personal branding part for a second, is it showed people what those three elements or components were. Called it a formula. I mean, it's not anything complicated. It's three literal pieces of information that build this pitch. And that pitch can be used in so many different ways. It can be used in a formal application process. It can be used in an informal way. If you're talking to someone over email or DM and you want to speak somewhere, you have this pitch prepared and ready to go. So you're not like, hey, I'm interested in speaking.
About what? Yeah.
What else? What else you got?
Yeah.
And you have this pitch that's rock solid. It highlights your value proposition. It tells the organizer or the event host.
This is their zone of genius.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And again, what problem you're going to solve for the audience. Positioning yourself in a problem solver in that way, showing someone a formula, a step-by-step process to get from point A to point B. To me, that was so low effort and high impact. The way I executed it was, I threw it up on Instagram. I said, here's an invite. You can register. It's free. And I had a Zoom room, and I did it 4 or 5 times in 2020. And it was it really opened up my eyes, I think, to how low effort and high impact something like that can be. And that we all have the agency to do it. I didn't have fancy tools. I just was I'm just going to do this. Let's see what happens. Hopefully a couple people show up. And there were hundreds that ended up joining. I partnered with a few different communities to do it virtually as well. And the feedback that I always get from doing workshops or sessions like that is, thank you for cutting through the noise, being actionable, and relatable. Those 3 things. And the way to become relatable is to speak in simple language, is to speak in the conversation of the listener. And I think also when and this goes for writing and speaking, right? Write like you speak. Speak like you write. You're not going to fool anyone. I know when it's ChatGPT or and actually I'm going to use my own story. It's not even about ChatGPT because this was before ChatGPT existed. My first ever big public speaking engagement that I did 12 years ago. I had one of my friends in the audience and, he was there for moral support. And I was I want to, give me your raw, honest feedback at the end of it. And he was that was great, but where were you? And I was at that point in my career and in my public speaking journey obsessed with trying to assert my intelligence and show up in a certain way because I've worked in tech. It's just the tech pro, audiences are tough. Now they're not, but they were in the beginning. Mm-hmm. And I felt like I had to show up as a certain way. And I stifled so much of myself. And it wasn't until I started to progress in my career and see and realize that, wait a minute, I know more than you. I have more experience than you, and I'm way smarter than you. Why am I trying to be someone else? And that was the magic. It was when I slowly, and this took years, and I hope it doesn't take you 12 years to get to this type of place where you feel so comfortable having conversations, but I also didn't have forums like this available to me. And it was the magic was really unlocked when I started showing up and talking to people in public speaking forums I was having a conversation with a friend at my house. Just how you said in the beginning, oh, I wish we were all in our pajamas just hanging out. That's how you should show up and talk.
Yeah.
And then translate that to your writing.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, and I think, even my broadcast professor for my master's program, his name is Sam Roberts. He was the executive producer to Walter Cronkite for 30 years. So was a no-nonsense, means business kind of person. And same thing, he was like, you don't need to use the jargon and all these fancy words. Talk to me like you're talking to a third grader and tell me the news that way so I understand what the hell you're saying. So it's the same thing. And that way people remember. And I think it's also important when you're doing these talks, come up with a fun acronym, come up with a mnemonic, something where then people are like, oh yeah, that was great. I learned 2 things in half an hour.
I actually want to use news and journalism as an example, another example, because it's so relevant, especially in big media organizations. We see this eroding trust in journalism, and there's many reasons for that, but one of the reasons is because it's stuffy and unrelatable. And I am going to use people I'm going to use Anderson Cooper as an example. He's amazing. He's so sweet. He's so kind. He's brilliant. But he is so unrelatable to the masses. And I'm not saying you need to be for the masses, but think about what you do want to be. Who are you trying to connect with? As a journalist, he does need to be able to connect with the masses and with people in rural Texas and and other parts of the country that aren't New York City. And it's getting harder and harder for people to relate to someone like him because it feels like you're being talked down to. It feels like it's so over, everything is so over intellectualized that it's becoming unrelatable. And the best way to be memorable is to be relatable. And the only way to do that is if you leverage your own voice. That is your competitive advantage. And I think that is the most real world example we have right now is in news and journalism.
Yes, 100%. I mean, we all didn't have Gloria Vanderbilt as their mom.
Sure.
So it's not going to be relatable, and you have to find that shtick to make sure you connect. Okay, now let's talk about the fact that we're in an ever-evolving workforce and industry. There's downsizing at big companies, DEI teams are getting cut, and, layoffs are just constantly on the horizon. So how do you stay ahead and make sure that you're safe?
And I love this question because it is directly related to personal branding. The 3 biggest regrets people have had in the past 2 years in this erratic job market and with all the mass layoffs we're seeing, and it's not even just affecting tech anymore, it's everywhere, are 1, they wish that they had a bigger financial cushion. 2 is that they wish they had a network, a meaningful, supportive network to lean on. And 3rd is they wish they had done a better job of documenting their accomplishments and their wins. Those 3 things are actually all solvable by having a powerful personal brand. And I'm going to reference a couple of different things, but one in particular, especially, it doesn't even matter what part of your career you're in, but I have a document. I'm going to start with the documentation part first, because I think this also will illuminate things that you can leverage in writing, talking, crafting your personal brand, which is a career hype doc. This is a log of accomplishments, and I will share a template out that I have after this, but it's not just a log of what you did. It is a log that captures your outcomes, the impact of those outcomes, who it affected, and then there's screenshots and stuff you can add in there that are testimonials or kudos that people have given you. I think HIPAA calls her something else.
High file.
Yeah, where she screenshots stuff that people have sent her and drop it in there. It's you can leverage that and put it into. And mine is just a boring Excel doc that is formatted by year and quarter, and you can modify it however you want. But that documentation is so crucial. No accomplishment is too small or too big. Put it all in there. Documentation is key, particularly the impact part. And what does that mean? What does it mean to communicate or document your impact? I always use this like example because it's very relevant, and Apple is a known brand to everyone. Impact is when you focus on like your your benefits and not your features. Apple does this by saying, when they came out with a iPod, for example, they didn't say, here's 5 gigs of storage in this tool. They said, here's 5,000 songs in your pocket. Which one are you gonna resonate with, right? It's like, what did you do for someone else? Personal brand is never about you, which is like, I think what people tend to get hung up on is like, oh, it feels braggy. It feels braggy because you're making it all about you, and it needs to be about the people you're serving. And that Apple example, I think, is really like a very simple but powerful one. A few words and drastically different stories, drastically different impact. And so when you're thinking about like what those accomplishments are, always think about how you helped someone solve a problem. How did you make someone's life easier? How did you make someone's life more pleasant? How can you help them navigate a roadblock? And track your learnings along the way. Like I said, we'll share this afterwards. It's a very simple Excel doc. I don't know, maybe one of you very talented ladies can like make it look nicer and like make it your own, because it's really bare bones. But I think that documentation piece is so important, and that's something you can leverage. If you're like, what do I talk about? Go look there.
Exactly. And I mean, even in this event, we were so kind of intrinsic about this because not on this graphic, but the other one, we wrote what you'll gain by coming here. And it's the masterclass, it's, you know, the advice from you, it's the network, it's the being paired with a mentee or mentor. So you walk away feeling like I have, and then the macaroons and all the, you know, charcuterie and stuff. So you walk away feeling like, you know, my belly's full, my heart's full, like, let's do this, LFG, you know? So yeah, that's definitely the vibe you should put out each time you're promoting what you're working on. Yeah, okay. Let's talk about, just a few categories, and then I want to open it to Q&A. One is relationship building, and you can be really like short and sweet about this, but you had an amazing mentor dinner you went to in Austin before coming here, and you shared about that. She shares about everything, which is so awesome because you just feel like a fly in the wall, and you're like, oh, I wasn't there, but now I want to create something like that in my city. So tell us about that dinner.
One thing I've learned in 2024 particularly is like how dire it is right now for us to be in person and having nuanced discussions. You cannot build community online, period. Community is built in person. What's online is an audience. The trick is, or the key is, take what's online and bring it offline. This is a beautiful example of that. You cannot have nuanced discussions online. Things are black and white. You can't go back and forth. And I say that because I'm just going to use the dinner that my mentor hosted that you mentioned as an example. I've done variations of this too. So she got together 5 women who were other leaders in Austin across various industries similar to this, and told each one to bring a +1, another woman who was a leader in a different industry or a peer. There's 10 of us, and she had some very simple prompts, like 2, and that's what I usually do, is like 1 or 2, because usually you'll see the conversation organically starts to take its own course and shape. And every time I've been in one of those, like it's so simple, right?
What are the prompts? Tell us the prompts.
Absolutely. And I think first you need to know who's there, right?
Yes,
so like depending on the time, the audience, like know the people that are there. When I hosted one for women in tech, I did one in Seattle and I did one in Google, or in Austin. And the prompts I used then were, if you could wave a magic wand, what is the one thing you wish you could change about being a woman in tech? You can extrapolate and variate on that in many different ways. That, instead of asking like, what's the biggest challenge you're facing?
Yeah.
Right? Like, be a little more creative. This is where ChatGPT is really handy. And get really, really specific. I think that's also the key, because if you leave it too open-ended, the conversation can go in all sorts of places, and you just know your people and make the question specific. In one of the sessions that I did, in meetups that I did, I had one question and that was it.
Okay.
That was what we talked about for 2 hours. And letting and I think the key is to make it, also define what it is not.
Okay.
And so I send out emails before I have done this, and I say, like, it's just short and sweet. It's like, this is not a pitch event. This is not a job pitching event. This is not a sales event. Don't come here and sell your stuff. This is for conversation. This is for helping each other solve problems and navigate roadblocks. I'm not saying don't do that. I'm saying make sure you know what this is and what this is not, so that you have this container that is very valuable, and every single person walks away knowing what they're going to come in for and what they're going to walk away with. Okay, and this is a little more personal and not so professional. Okay, so I'll use another example. I was recently hosted with a couple of friends in Austin, just a Valentine's dinner, and we wanted to have some engaging conversation. 2 questions. One is, what do you love about yourself, and how do you define self-love at this point in your journey? And it is that's also like, I've never asked a question like that before, because I've most of my life been very averse to talking, just this is fluffy stuff, I don't need to talk about it. But it is powerful to have the conversations in person, because the collective energy helps you see new perspectives and helps you, it unlocks creativity. It unlocks clarity when you have these conversations in person. There's only so much you can do on a post. There's only so much you can do on a DM. I love those 2 questions, and there were so many beautiful, just aha moments that came from that. And I think also when you're sitting next to someone or across from someone, you put your guard down, because that energy it's palpable. And I think that's really the magic of helping people feel seen and heard, and it's a safe space.
Yes.
That's what people want and desperately need right now. And you cannot do that online.
Yes, so true. And this, just to share, this is my self-love, because I feel like we live in silos. I live an hour away from here in New Jersey, and I have a grimace on my face as I step out into the cold with my parka over my pajamas to do drop off. And I'm just like, FML. But then when I come here, this is the self-love. This is just totally filling my cup, and I hope all of you feel that. We need more of this.
And it's so low effort. There were times when I did one in Seattle, and nothing. I showed up, just me, and it was a cold, rainy day in Seattle on a Tuesday afternoon, and 40 women showed up. And it was just and they were like, this is life-changing. It's okay, what's life-changing about this? They felt seen and heard, and they walked away with meaningful connections, which we hope you guys do here today too.
Yes. Okay, let's take it to relationship building for the younger audience, students, those who are just getting started in their careers. Oftentimes they'll send cold LinkedIn messages or DMs where they ask the trite question, may I pick your brain? And it's just I don't know, being on the other, I made sure not to do that. I guess I must have. After college, maybe. Yeah, but now I'm just never say pick your brain. There's you can have so much more finesse around it when you're trying to cultivate a relationship with someone who's more seasoned. So tell us how they can do that and create opportunities for themselves in their network.
And let's start with talking about why. That is a really annoying way to reach out to someone. The other person has no idea where this is going. It's lazy. It's just, it's used just mindlessly. And it shows that you have not taken any care or intention to reach out to this person specifically. Yeah. It's boilerplate, right?
True.
Don't be a template, be specific. The other thing is, do not, if this is someone that it's cold and you don't have a relationship with them, do not lead with your own interests. You have to understand that if there's someone who is in the position of a leader, time is their most valuable asset. And they don't think of time as a transaction. They think of it as an investment. So like when you're reaching out to them, they like get to the point. What do you like? And you can be as specific as you can be and be genuine. If you need a job referral, okay, give context of like, don't just say, hey, I found a job at CNN, could you refer me? That's not enough. You need to talk about what did you try? What is the job? What are the links to it? Have you talked to anyone already? What have you tried? What's worked? What has not worked? Give context and be thorough. You will like 99% of the time get a response that way, because that reduces the amount of work that I have to do. That makes it easy for me to go advocate for you, to go do this thing for you. Because if I see that you've done XYZ, I'm putting my name on the line to refer you. I need to make sure that you have your shit together, that this is going to be worth it, and that, you know, that you're not going to, that there's follow through and follow up as well. And I think especially in our ever increasing like digital noisy world, the bar is so low, it's so easy to stand out. Like most people are doing that. Yep. And you're not gonna, like, you will rarely get a response from the people that you like actually want. But if you take an extra 15 minutes to create a thoughtful email or message, introduce yourself, say thank you. Like, I don't understand why gratitude is so novel these days. Like, say thank you.
These are kids. Yeah.
Offer a simple compliment like, hey, I saw you were at Kanika's event, or I saw you were at this conference, and like I loved XYZ, and show how you talk about, I love when, this is my favorite, when people reach out to me and they say, hey, remember when you posted that thing, and here's how I implemented it, and here's how I took action, thank you, this is how it worked. Or also, sometimes it doesn't work. Do you have any advice? I tried to do XYZ. Did I miss something? Can you help me? Like, gives context. The goal there is to shorten the feedback loop, because we don't, like, time is valuable for everyone, not just people in positions of leadership and power. It's for everybody. Make it, and when you do something like that, it shows me you don't even value your own time.
Yeah, that's lazy for sure. One rule of thumb that I have, and, you know, I've done this with, you know, I have a few mentors in my life, and I've cultivated those relationships over years, is give, and then ask. Because that's what really kind of sets the stage of who you are as a person. And I love personally, so like I'm meeting, you know, industry leaders and luminaries all the time through my work. And one of my mentors, who's just a gem of a person, Sarah Hardin, she's the CEO of Hello Sunshine. I told her when we decided to have that mentor-mentee relationship, I was like, by the way, I'm going to make this as symbiotic as possible. And I will, any way I can hook you up. I know I'm just a little fish, but I will try to do my best. And as an example, I met the Chief Diversity Officer at Yahoo, Allison Reedy Williamson, who's also amazing. And I put them on an email together. It was like, you guys are going to go on great. And so I think if you can do that as a mentee, where you're like, I know this CEO and I know that CEO, and who knows the synergies that are going to come out of that relationship, hook it up. And that way they're going to be like, she's legit. I love working with her.
Being a connector is like such a hack for life and career. Like, and the best part of it is when you start to do that, you will receive it.
You'll receive, oh yeah, that's karma, that's the universe, that's all of it, absolutely. So you have an 18-month-old daughter, Anvika, and I feel like that just, there's a before and after that happens. So there's now an Upasna 2.0. How has she taught you? What is she, like, what are the lessons she's teaching you on a daily basis?
Oh man, so I always prided myself on being pretty organized, efficient, you know, good at prioritizing, all those things before I had my daughter. And like now it's like it has changed about how I work. But I would say from a more holistic standpoint, she keeps me rooted in that quality full circle that we talked about when you asked me, like, were you born a leader, which is curiosity. And she reminds me every single day to like stay rooted in that leads you to the places you need to go. People say follow your passion. I don't agree with that. I think you should follow your curiosity. Your curiosities will help you uncover your passions. You won't know what you're passionate about if you're not curious. And so she reminds me of that every day. And that also curiosity can be found in the simplest of things, that it doesn't need to be something complex. It doesn't need to be something extravagant. I think childlike wonder and curiosity are like two of the most beautiful skills to foster, nurture, and cultivate. And I mean, it's beautiful to observe that outside of yourself. And it's like a mirror. And
Yes.
it reminds me to stay focused on that.
That's beautiful. I love that. Okay, let's open it up to all of you. Do you have any questions, comments? Yes, I knew your hand was going to go up. You're always like, yeah.
Introduce yourself to.
Yes, sure.
Manu Sehgal. So my question, firstly, thank you so much, Kanika, for creating this platform for us and sharing Upasna with us. I know how much effort and love and commitment it takes to host an event like this. So Upasna, my question is more about, I was trying to frame this question, timelessness, timeliness of personal brand, and also evolving the personal brand. So what stays the same? How quickly do we reinvent it? Or what changes? So if you can talk something around that.
That's an amazing question. I don't think anything stays the same, ever. I think that's a recipe for stagnation. But what stays constant maybe over a long period of time is your values. What are your values and what does that mean? I think of that as who is the person you want to show up as? What are the traits and qualities you want to be known for? My 3 core values are curiosity, leadership, and equanimity. They've changed over time, and sometimes I didn't have a name for them, but I think about what is the person I want to show up as. I talk a lot about my 80-year-old self. I was like, what does she look like figuratively? What does she stand for? What does she believe in? And how do I get closer to becoming her every day? I think you could think of it as perception, but it's more of like identity. It's more of like, and this is where you really have to cut out the noise, because people will tell you what they think you should be or what your values should be, especially as a mother, but and the only way to deeply understand what your values are is to define the type of life you want to live. Your brand should be rooted and grounded in that. I think evolution is inevitable of it, but those are anchors. I think values are the anchors, and then they're supplemented by your skills, your expertise, and how you've helped people solve problems. What are the types of problems you like to solve? Think about, just even the simplest of things. You could take inspiration from daily life in motherhood and, translate that into like some sort of problem solving as well. I like that as the root. And it is going to mean different things for everyone. But when you position yourself as a leader, you become a subject matter expert on the things you're really good at and the things you're curious about and the things you help people accomplish. So nothing ever stays the same, it'll evolve, but I think those core values are the first starting point to define. I hope that helps.
That's great. One thing I wanted to share, I didn't get to during the community section, but I feel like you brought this up. Personal brand isn't just about you, it's about your community. And I came up with a fun kind of moniker mnemonic for this, the 4 C's. And oftentimes, we know the saying, diamonds are a girl's best friend. I would say best friends are a girl's best friend. So these are the 4 C's. When you're building community, number 1, be competent. Get what you say you're gonna do done. Oftentimes, people just kind of beat around the bush and don't do what they say that they're going to do, or don't anticipate what's needed. So be competent. Number 2, communicative. Over communicate if you have to, but always be vocal about your opinions and sharing when you're building your brand and community. 3, be collaborative, be a team player, so that people just, would, if they had a choice, would want to be on your team. And 4th, this is my fave, be compassionate. I think when you lead with kindness, there's such a genuine kind of feeling in that, people can sense it. So always lead with compassion. So those are my 4 C's.
I love that. And like when you said, what was the second?
The second, be communicative.
Communicative, yes. Like some of the content that has been most resonant with people that I've shared in the past year has been like taking a current event and extracting relevant lessons from it that you can apply in your day-to-day life. And in your own voice, like take this thing and extract what it means to you and then apply it in a way that can help somebody solve a problem. I don't know, have I said that enough yet? Help people solve problems.
Help, yeah. Help, and then you will rise.
Absolutely. And it's like, and then you talked about accountability.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think when you become that go-to person and that problem solver, people inherently view you as reliable and accountable.
Yeah.
It's a double-edged sword, especially in the workplace, because then people like come to you for everything. But it's a good problem to have, especially if you're in the beginning of your career.
Yes. Okay, yeah, one more question.
Yes, my name is Hanan. In the beginning, you shared when you first got up there that when you were younger, you had been really nervous and not sure if you were able to speak or anything like that. What would you share with your younger self, your inner child, if she was asking that question to you where you are right now? And even the students that are here that are not seasoned, but you are seasoned, what would you share with the students and that younger child, the younger Basva, that question?
You have everything you need. You are everything you need. Just start.
Mic drop.
Exactly. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to give a big shout out to Upasna. I can't believe that all of this started from a DM on Instagram. We got on the phone. We realized not only should we do a podcast interview, we thought, why not have an audience and allow people to engage with each other and ask us questions in real time? And it ended up being better than we could have ever imagined. And thank you to Industrious for hosting us. They are a co-working space all over the country, and we were at the location in Rockefeller Center in New York City. It was so wonderful having a power hour of breakfast and networking at the space. Thank you to my sponsors, Pooja Chandani of Whoops Macaroons, Brooklyn Deli, and Butter Lane Bakery for all the sweets and goodies. Thank you to my co-hosts, Anu Sehgal, Rashmi Gill, Anjali Vermani, Kirti Tiwari, Impana Shri, Loveleen Virdi, and Advika Gupta for supporting me in bringing all of us together and forging community in this way. I think it's so important to do these in-person events and meet people face to face. And you guys know I'm a hugger. So to be able to do that and exchange our stories means the world to me. I'm excited to bring you more events just like this. And thank you all for supporting That's Total Mom Sense podcast along the way. Thanks for listening to this episode of That's Total Mom Sense. You can listen to the audio version wherever you get your podcasts. Just search for That's Total Mom Sense. You can learn more about my guests by logging on to www.thatstotalmomsense.com. Be sure to follow me on Instagram, where I'm most active on social media. My handle is @Kanika Chadda Gupta. And if you have ideas for show topics or guests you can't wait to have on the show, write to me at thatstotalmomsense@gmail.com. And lastly, please rate, review, and subscribe to That's Total Mom Sense if you haven't already. Thanks for being in my tribe.